2 years ago, in the depths of a dense forest, I sought solace and escape from the chaos of everyday life through a solo camping trip. Little did I know that my venture into the wilderness would unravel into a chilling horror story, forever etched in my memory. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the forest transformed into a labyrinth of shadows and whispers. Setting up my tent, I couldn't shake the uneasy feeling that I was being watched. The isolation I once craved now clawed at my nerves, but I pushed those thoughts aside, determined to embrace the solitude. Night fell, and an unsettling silence settled upon the woods. The crackling fire offered a flickering sanctuary, but the darkness beyond its reach seemed impenetrable. A cold wind rustled the leaves, sending shivers down my spine. It was as if the very forest held its breath, waiting for something or someone. Trying to dismiss my growing unease, I wrapped myself tightly in my sleeping bag, seeking warmth and reassurance. But the eerie stillness persisted, broken only by the distant hooting of an owl. The solitude pressed upon me, and the boundaries between reality and imagination blurred. In an attempt to regain control over my emotions, I stepped outside the tent, clutching my flashlight tightly. Its feeble beam cut through the oppressive darkness, casting elongated shadows that danced menacingly on the tree trunks. The forest seemed to hold its breath, waiting for me to make a wrong move. As I cautiously ventured deeper into the woods, every snap of a twig, every rustle of leaves sent my heart racing. My senses were heightened, on alert for any signs of danger. A feeling of being watched gnawed at my consciousness, yet there was no tangible presence to confront. With each passing moment, my unease intensified, and the forest became an entity unto itself. Sinister whispers, carried by the wind, whispered hauntingly in my ears. Shadows flickered at the corner of my vision, darting between the trees, evading my grasp. It was as if an invisible malevolence lurked just beyond my reach. Abruptly, the beam of my flashlight faltered and extinguished, plunging me into an abyss of impenetrable darkness. Panic surged through my veins, threatening to overwhelm my rationality. Frantically, I rummaged for my phone, clinging to the hope that its feeble illumination could illuminate my path to safety. Alas, its feeble glow faltered, unable to pierce the oppressive shroud of obscurity that engulfed the surroundings. Whispers surrounded me, their incomprehensible voices echoing through the trees. Fear gripped my heart as I stumbled through the underbrush, my mind racing with terrifying possibilities. I was lost, both physically and mentally, trapped in a nightmare of my own making. Just as despair threatened to overtake me, a distant flicker of light caught my attention. A surge of hope propelled me forward, crashing through the undergrowth until I stumbled upon a dilapidated cabin, its once sturdy frame now weathered and worn. Without hesitation, I threw open the cabin's creaking door, seeking refuge from the horrors that lurked outside. Inside, the air hung heavy and damp, carrying the scent of decay. Moonlight filtered through the cracks in the walls, casting an otherworldly glow upon the abandoned interior. Finding a corner to huddle in, I curled into a ball, my mind reeling with unanswered questions. What unseen force haunted these woods? Why had I become entangled in its grasp? Fear clung to me like a suffocating shroud, and sleep remained elusive. Through the long, torturous night, I listened intently to every creak and groan of the cabin, each sound a haunting reminder of my vulnerability. I knew I was a mere pawn in a game of darkness, and I resolved to survive until dawn. As the first light of day peeked through the shattered windows, I emerged from my fragile sanctuary. The forest, once enchanting, now held a malevolence that I could no longer ignore. I hastily packed my belongings, the weight of the harrowing experience still heavy upon my shoulders. Leaving the campsite behind, I cast a final glance at the cabin, a relic of the horrors I'd encountered. I vowed never to return to those woods, knowing that the secrets they held were best left undisturbed, buried within the depths of the haunted forest.